Are you new to teaching elementary music, or do you feel like you're just spinning your wheels every day in your classroom? Maybe you're overwhelmed and honestly just don't know where to go for advice and mentorship. Hi, I'm Jessica, and when I'm not drinking all the coffee, watching Razorback sports, or hanging out with my family of boys, it's my passion to help elementary music teachers just like you teach your students by using your unique personality and teaching style. In this podcast, you'll find helpful tips, strategies, and ideas that will help you kick that stress to the curb and begin teaching music with confidence. Let's get started. My mom grew up in Louisiana, and so I still have family all over that area. In fact, this year for Thanksgiving, we're going to Louisiana, and Louisiana Thanksgivings, you guys, are so much fun because it's the normal Thanksgiving food, but then all the, seafood along with it. And so, but yeah, my mama still lives there. That's the Louisiana version of a grandma. And then aunts, uncles, everyone, they're all over. And so Mardi Gras obviously I've never made it to Mardi Gras because it's never a time I can go, but it's huge there. And so I really like to think kind of outside the box. And so obviously the main holidays you think about, celebrating them in the music classroom are important, but I always try to think of other ways to celebrate, the lesser known holidays, especially wherever you live. If you're not from Louisiana, Mardi Gras may not be as obviously a big of a deal. But the reason I wanted to bring Mardi Gras into the music room is because it's not just about Mardi Gras. It was the perfect segue into teaching about jazz music, big band, and even about parades and celebrations. And so that's kind of what we turned it into, like a celebration. I included a link to a blog post I wrote 2 years ago, actually, and I didn't need to write a new blog post because the one I wrote is exactly what I'm going to talk about today. And there are 4 links to YouTube videos. They're not my YouTube videos, but YouTube videos that you can watch of songs you can include in your music room. So we're going to kind of go over that today and why I picked these songs and why I think they're really fun to do and what you can do with them, okay? So the first one is really one of the most famous songs in Louisiana because their professional football team is the Saints. And so it's When the Saints Go Marching In. So When the Saints Go Marching In by Louis Armstrong. This is actually such a fun song. And if you're not familiar with it, it's super easy. It's just, oh, when the Saints go marching in, oh, when the Saints go marching in. I'm not going to sing the whole song, but this is a really famous song in Louisiana because, like I said, their football team's the Saints. And this is one you'll hear all the big bands playing with the trumpets and, the marching down the street. And when your students, first of all, when you're introducing a new song or, show them, the YouTube links I included are school appropriate. Obviously, I would never share anything with you that you could not show to your students. And I know sometimes teachers have a hard time accessing YouTube at their school. So just being familiar with these songs is what's important. And you could probably download even like the musical version of it instead of YouTube if you need to do that as well. So what I said about this in the blog post is, first of all, this would be a great way to talk about Louis Armstrong. If you're doing some kind of composer of the month, then maybe around Mardi Gras time, you could do Louis Armstrong and talk about him as a musician and why he was, famous and what he became famous for and the type of music he sang and what instrument he played. Then you talk about the song When the Saints Go Marching In. And about jazz music. And then also it opens the door to talk about the New Orleans culture and the music that came from there and what influenced other music around around the United States and even around the world. And then the second song is called Go to the Mardi Gras, okay? Now this one is all about the Zulu parade. And this one would be a perfect song that would be so fun for your students to pretend they're in a marching band or, a big band marching around the room and talk about what a Zulu parade is. If you're not familiar with the Zulu parade, just Google it and you'll see all about it. But basically, this song is really fun to talk about tempo, and what they'll hear in the song is whistling, a drum line, and then talking about the fast tempo. And you're going to notice a lot with any songs played at Mardi Gras, fast tempo. And that's perfect way to talk about tempo in your classroom, right? You could even do a comparison thing between the fast tempo songs they're listening to and what other songs do you listen to that have slow tempos. How do they differ? Comparing genres of music and types of music. How does this sound familiar to other jazz music you've already heard in our classroom before? So don't just have them listen to the song, have them stand up and while they're listening, move to what they're listening to. After all, music is for exploring and feeling the music, not just standing still and listening. Now, if it's the first time they're hearing it, then yeah, you could have them sit still or maybe just tap their legs to the steady beat while they're listening, but then explain to them that you want them to get up and move to the music, not just listen to the music. Because Mardi Gras is a big celebration after all. The first YouTube video I included under, if you read the blog post, under go to the Mardi Gras, is the original arrangement, and the second one shows some talented kid dancers. And this would be awesome for your kids to, your students to watch these kids in the video and they kind of just replicate the dance they made up. And then they're basically celebrating Mardi Gras, right? And the third song I included is They All Asked for You by the Meters. Now, this one is my favorite because I feel like in the music room, it's not, you know, when you're talking about music, you're also talking about culture. And when you're talking about the cultures and you're talking, and inside the blog post, there's actually a downloadable for you about 40 songs from other cultures. And if you want to download that as well. But what I was going to say is when you're talking about cultures and music and where the culture that music came from, talk about what the people eat, what they wear, why they like listening to the music they listen to, what kind of music your students enjoy. So when you're talking about Louisiana, talking about crawfish etouffee, crawfish anything for that matter, oh my goodness, gumbo, jambalaya, and this song is so fun because when you're talking about the culture of Louisiana and Mardi Gras, this song talks about a lot of those foods, which I still cook some of that from my family. I never grew up in Louisiana, but my mama did, okay? So, and then also red beans and rice. I can't forget red beans and rice, you guys, oh my goodness. But the other thing it talks about is the Audubon Zoo, which is, if you've never been to that zoo, it's actually one of my favorites. Now, when I took my kiddos, we went there on spring break last year to see my mama. And that zoo, you guys, I mean, I'm not gonna joke, like it was so hot that I sort of enjoyed it, but it was also like, where's the air conditioned buildings, which is pretty much any zoo you go to in the summer. It's fun for the kids, but for you as an adult, you're just like, I'm sweating and I'm hot, I'm ready to go jump in this lake, right? But anyways, it talks about the Audubon Zoo in this song. And then this is a really fun song to talk about, like I said, the culture of New Orleans and what's around New Orleans and the food and the zoo. And but then they also can play like they're in a marching band while they listen to the song as well. So the way to celebrate Mardi Gras is just like you celebrate any other holiday. You can read your students' books about it. Louis Armstrong, like I said, or any other famous jazz musicians that came out of New Orleans, read them books about it. Listen to music like the ones I included in the blog post. Have them move to the music. I mean, if you listen to any kind of music from New Orleans area, you guys, you're moving. And what I love about it, you could even explain this to the students. And maybe you yourself have never been to New Orleans, but when you're walking around the New Orleans, you know, even the French Quarter, there are always live musicians playing out there, always. And so they could even pretend they're, you know, put them in little groups and have them pretend that they're playing their instruments at the French Quarter. What type of instruments are they playing? You'll always see a drum, some kind of trumpet, usually a trombone and a tuba. Those are usually the instruments you'll see playing while they're on the square. Another way to celebrate is by listening to the music, moving to it, maybe turning it into a writing assignment about what does the music make them think about. Have them come up with a partner, make up a Mardi Gras dance. Anything, any kind of celebration, any kind of, be creative. You know, we've talked a lot about you don't have to do things like the music teacher down the street. Be creative. Get them up and moving. Get them creative movement while they're listening to the music and tell them, you know, give them some guidelines about how to move. What do you see the kids in these videos doing? How can you move along with them? And so those are just simple ways to celebrate Mardi Gras in the music room. If you have any questions or any ways you bring Mardi Gras in your music room, let me know. And by the way, if I forgot to say this part, but Mardi Gras actually starts on the 1st. It's March 1st through, I believe, March 6th, but I might be wrong about that. And then you could also, along with Mardi Gras, talk about Fat Tuesday. That's another one. And so anyways, I just wanted to give you a little holiday to celebrate coming up in March. And I hope you guys have had an amazing week and continue. Well, it's Monday, but you had an amazing week last week as I didn't get to come on here. And you guys have an amazing week this week in teaching music to your students. And I cannot wait to be back here next time. Have an amazing day. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening in to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, I would love for you to review the show and leave a rating on iTunes. To find out more about how I can help you gain momentum in your elementary music teaching career, head to thedomesticmusician.com, where you'll find free downloads, courses, the blog, and so much more. Continue teaching music and never doubt the impact you're making each and every day in the lives of your students.